What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. We have another big trade in the NFL to break down. The Bears are sending DJ Moore to the Bills. We'll break down not only what impact DJ Moore will have in Buffalo, but how this DJ Moore trade will impact the rest of the NFL with free agency looming. The NFL draft is not too far away, and how it impacts A.J. Brown's current trade market. Speaking of free agency, Kyler Murray is a free agent. He recently has been released by the Arizona Cardinals, leading to a lot of people asking the question, just how good is Kyler Murray right now? Is he damaged goods? Is he beyond repair? Or could he be this year's Sam Darnold? Every year, we see a team go from last to first in their division. This year, there's a team that's only one good free agency away from being able to take that jump. I will reveal who that team is later on. I have a special treat for all of my NFL draft fanatics out there. For the first time in over 3 years, I'm going to be dropping my first first round mock draft. If you are a diehard football fan, you live, eat, breathe, and die football, you come to the right place. We're talking all things football, NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days throughout the year. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop new content. If you don't want the starting quarterback of your favorite team to be Anthony Richardson, do yourself, your squad, and yours truly a favor. Give us a 5-star review. We are not just a YouTube channel. We are a podcast. You can find this episode along with all of our previous ones in audio format. Wherever you get your podcast from, Apple, Spotify, the links are down in the pinned comment and description down below. If you enjoy the content, you want to support the grind, all we ask is that you take less than 10 seconds to give us a 5-star review. Greatly appreciated. Helps us out a lot. Let's dive into it. The Bills finally got Josh Allen, a number one receiver. It took them long enough. The Bills are giving the Chicago Bears their second round pick in this year's draft in exchange for DJ Moore. They get a 2026 fifth round pick to go along with that. DJ Moore has been the most underappreciated wide receiver of this generation. He reminds me of T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton was very productive during his time with the Colts, always put up 1,000-yard campaigns, never got the recognition that he deserved. DJ Moore, same way. He hasn't been on a lot of good teams. This past season was the best team that he's ever been on. His numbers don't look that sexy. And some may say that DJ Moore is declining since his stats every year he's been in Chicago have gotten worse. But don't let DJ Moore's stats with the Bears fool you. He still is a top 15 receiver in the league. He's much better than what the box score shows. DJ Moore, unfortunately, had his numbers go down due to the amount of mouths that the Bears had to feed. DJ Moore wasn't the only good weapon that Caleb Williams was throwing the football to. He was throwing to two other good receivers alongside of DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden. You had two really good tight ends. There was only so many targets to go around. Of course, DJ Moore was going to see a little bit of reduction statistically. With the Bills, though, you're going to see him become a household name the same way Stephon Diggs did. Before Stephon got to Buffalo, he was known as a good receiver, but not seen as an elite receiver. He gets to Buffalo, all of a sudden he's catching passes from Josh Allen, and he had a stretch 3 to 4 years when he was a top 5 receiver in the game. I expect the same out of DJ Moore. DJ Moore had a 1,300-yard campaign with Justin Fields at quarterback his first season in Chicago. This dude was putting up 1,100-yard seasons with Teddy Bridgewater and the UFL quarterback throwing him the ball. So if he can put up these kinds of numbers in the past, Josh Allen is going to make DJ Moore a household name And he was one of the best receivers available during this offseason via trade, draft, free agency, you name it. The Bills getting DJ Moore not only makes them a better football team, but it hurts the other Super Bowl contenders in the AFC that still don't have a true number one wide receiver. The Ravens, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Chiefs, they all still need receivers. DJ Moore is not available anymore, so now they have to put their attention elsewhere. Either you go all in for A.J. Brown, you give the Eagles what they're asking for, or you see if you can find some good value in free agency. But there's not a lot of elite receiver talent in free agency this year. So the Bills getting DJ Moore, not only do you make yourself a better team, but you potentially are making the rest of your opposition worse. And in this offense, DJ Moore is going to do wonders for not just Josh Allen and Joe Brady, but for the other weapons on this team. Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, they're going to get more advantageous matchups now that the defense is going to have to put more focus on stopping DJ Moore. The problem that the Bills have had at receiver is that defenses don't have to respect any of the receivers that they were throwing out there. So you could do what the Texans did when they blitzed the Bills on Thursday night. Just blitz the hell out of Josh Allen every single play. If you don't have a receiver that can get open, that can create separation, that can beat one-on-one press coverage, you're going to have a hard time being able to have success against a team like the Seahawks or a team like the Texans that can generate a lot of pressure up front. DJ Moore is going to mitigate that. Now with DJ Moore at receiver for the Bills, you can't blitz the hell out of Josh Allen anymore. Because if Josh Allen sees you about to send extra, he's going to hit the top of his helmet, signal to DJ Moore, hey, run a fly, run a quick slant. And that's how DJ Moore is going to help better the Bills' offense against the blitz. And since you won't be able to blitz the Bills as much, since they'll have a receiver that you actually have to respect, that you don't want to leave one-on-one because he's going to get open more times than not, that's going to make life easier for everybody else in this offense. Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, James Cook. DJ Moore is a 10 target per game kind of receiver. You can give DJ Moore 10 targets every game. He's going to turn that into 100 plus yards or more, maybe a touchdown or two with what he can do after the catch. DJ Moore is one of the best well-rounded receivers in the league. As far as his skill set, he's as complete as what you'll find in today's NFL at receiver. Solid route runner, great hands, but not only can he create plays underneath and over the top, but he can do it on all three levels of the field: short, intermediate, deep, and he's a running back when he gets the ball in the open field. So you also have that big playability after the catch, which can boost Buffalo's productivity on offense. And when you are a first-time head coach like Joe Brady, DJ Moore, bringing him in, you already have a little bit of familiarity with DJ Moore, dating back to the time when Joe Brady was Matt Rule's offensive coordinator with the Panthers. DJ Moore had 2 very productive seasons under Joe Brady's play calling. He already knows Joe Brady's system. He already knows what Joe Brady's looking for him to do within the offense. I don't expect it to take too long for DJ Moore to start getting some good rapport, some good chemistry with Josh Allen. DJ Moore has to be as happy as he's ever been. He finally has a good quarterback throwing him the football, a great quarterback throwing him the football. We saw what Josh Allen did for Stephon Diggs' career. He would do the same for DJ Moore. DJ Moore has never been in a better spot to finally show why he is indeed a top 10 or better receiver than right now. Because for years, nobody was paying attention to DJ Moore, since there was no reason to pay attention to him unless you were a fan of the Bears or the Panthers. DJ Moore has been a very underappreciated wide receiver, and this is going to be the year that he finally gets his roses. He finally gets his flowers, since everybody's going to be paying attention to the Bills. Everybody's going to be trying to see if they'll finally get over the top with this move. And by trading for DJ Moore, Brandon Beane puts even more pressure on himself this season. Because if the Bills come up short in the playoffs once again, who else does Brandon Beane have left to scapegoat? You already scapegoated Sean McDermott. You said that it's not the talent, it's the coaching not getting the most out of the talent that I'm putting on the field. In comes Joe Brady, who you promote from within. You trade for DJ Moore. So now Josh Allen, he has all the weapons that he needs now. He finally has his number one guy. He finally has a head coach who could get better play out of him in the postseason. So if the Bills come up short in the playoffs once again, there's nobody left to blame. There's nobody left to fire but Brandon Beane. If Sean McDermott wasn't the problem, and Josh Allen's not going to go anywhere, he would be a part of the problem if you keep coming up short. But you're not going to get rid of Josh Allen. The only person left to get rid of is Brandon Beane. And this is the best move that Brandon Beane has made since he went out and got a Stephon Diggs. You traded away Stephon Diggs, but you never had a contingency plan for life after Stephon Diggs. And that has hurt Buffalo in the postseason. Now with DJ Moore, you got that number one that can get open on his own. He doesn't need to be schemed open. He doesn't need to get touches manufactured to him. Josh Allen can just force feed him the ball and let DJ Moore go to work. DJ Moore, this was one of the best wide receivers that anybody could have acquired this offseason with what's available on the trade market, what the wide receiver class in the draft and free agency is looking like. A.J. Brown was number one on everybody's wish list. DJ Moore is number two. There was a ton of demand for DJ Moore since there's kind of a short supply of high-level wide receiver ones in this league. DJ Moore is going to crush it with the Bills. And the Bills don't get it done this year, Brandon Beane, he's going to be that first thing knocking out that door once that season is over. Not only is the DJ Moore trade going to have a big impact on the Bills' offense this year, but it also is going to have a big impact on free agency, which is just around the corner, and the upcoming NFL draft. In free agency, there are not a lot of good receivers available that you can lock in as your wide receiver one, and you feel very good about the results you're going to get out of them. Mike Evans is on the last leg of his career. Raheem Shaheed is a good number two, number three option, not really a one. Alec Pierce, a really good deep threat. Again, not a true number one receiver. So who are the best number one receivers available for trade? Really it was DJ Moore and then A.J. Brown and everybody else. Brandon Ayuk is still out there. Maybe Cortland Sutton could be on the trade block. But DJ Moore and A.J. Brown were the two best receivers that any team looking to improve their wide receiver position was going to be able to get. That was going to be a tremendous upgrade since A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill are premier receivers. Well, not Tyreek Hill, but DJ Moore are premier receivers. There is a gap between the two. A.J. Brown is elite. DJ Moore's a tier beneath that. By the time we're having this conversation same time next year, we could be saying that DJ Moore is an elite receiver, and maybe he's better than A.J. Brown. But with the Bills getting DJ Moore, you now increase the trade value that the Eagles could get in return for A.J. Brown. Right now, they're looking for a first-round pick, and teams only want to give them a second-round pick at best. A.J. Brown's the golden egg of this offseason at receiver. You're not going to find a better receiver in the draft or in free agency than you will if you trade up for A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, whoever he ends up going to, if he ends up getting traded at all, whoever doesn't end up being the recipient of that trade is then going to be forced to possibly have to sign Tyreek Hill since you missed out on DJ Moore, you missed out on A.J. Brown. Now the best available who could be a big playmaker for you is Tyreek Hill. Although Tyreek Hill is coming off absolutely gruesome leg injury, I don't think that leg injury is going to make Tyreek Hill go from running 4.2 to 4.6 in one offseason. Tyreek Hill still has world-class speed. He is regressing, but Hall of Fame level players regress at a slower rate than your average player. Tyreek Hill still has 2-3 good years of good football left in him. And for the Eagles, you can use the Bills trading DJ Moore to get more draft capital in return for an A.J. Brown trade, since there's not a lot of premier options out there that teams can get that can improve their wide receiver one spot. So if you're Howie Roseman and you're working the phones, you can say, hey, like, DJ Moore is gone. So if you don't get A.J. Brown, you're going to be asked out of getting you a true outside receiver. So either you fork up what we're looking for in compensation, or you end up hitting the road and you just miss out on an upgrade to get one of the best receivers in the game. There is a lot of demand, but low supply for good wide receiver ones in the NFL. Right now in free agency, there's just a bunch of good wide receiver twos, very solid wide receiver threes, but not a lot of receivers available that you can sign and be confident they can give you high-end wide receiver one production, which is why this DJ Moore trade is so valuable for the Philadelphia Eagles and driving up the stock price for A.J. Brown. You could get a team scared enough of missing out on getting an elite receiver this offseason that they just go ahead and overspend to get A.J. Brown off the Eagles. Tyreek Hill, with the lack of star power in free agency, he benefits a lot off of this DJ Moore trade. If the Ravens, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Chiefs can't get A.J. Brown, they already missed out on DJ Moore. Who else is there to go to that you can look at as a feasible option? Sure, there's a few underrated, a few under the radar guys that are in their mid-20s, like Alex Pierce. But would you rather have Tyreek Hill, who's already proven himself and what he can do when he's healthy, or bank on Alex Pierce, who more so is just a one-trick pony as a deep ball merchant? I'd rather go with Tyreek Hill. And there's not a lot of dynamic receivers available in free agency this year. Now, if you don't want to trade for A.J. Brown and you missed out on DJ Moore, and you don't want to sign anybody in free agency like a Tyreek Hill, a Mike Evans, or Raheem Shaheed, then the last option that you're going to have of walking away after this offseason with a high-end wide receiver one is trading up for one in the NFL draft. The DJ Moore trade now has boosted the stock of Mekhi Lemon and Cornell Tate in the draft coming up. Mekhi Lemon and Cornell Tate are the two best receivers available. And there's a chance that both of these guys could go in the top 10. The Chiefs are picking at 9. They need a receiver. The Browns could use a receiver. They could take one at 6. Maybe there's a team that gets so desperate and they get so scared of missing out on the opportunity to get a wide receiver one that they trade into the top 10, the draft either Mekhi Lemon or Cornell Tate. Because DJ Moore, although he's not as good as A.J. Brown, the gap in skills between the two is not big enough to where you're like, yeah, like we just want A.J. Brown to nothing. You're okay with DJ Moore since he costs a lot less contract-wise, and 2, he's more easier to get in the trade since you didn't have to give up no more than a second-round pick for him. Meanwhile, the Eagles won a first-round pick for him. With DJ Moore and the Bills now, the rest of the AFC that still doesn't have a true number one on their team, there's a lot more urgency to get an A.J. Brown deal done or to walk away with one of the bigger name receivers in free agency, which there aren't really too many. And even if they are a big name, they're probably just a name at this point. I think Mike Evans is good, but I don't think he's as good as what his name would lead you to suggest at this point in his career. DJ Moore, he's making it very scary to be a team that really desperately needs a high-end wide receiver on their team. Kyler Murray doesn't suck. He's not bad, but he's not good either. He's the perfect definition of what a mid quarterback looks like. There's moments when you think he can put it all together and be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but oftentimes with his inconsistency, you just never believe that he's ever going to be able to fully max out on his potential. And Kyler Murray isn't a mid quarterback due to lack of talent. Kyler Murray is one of the best athletes to ever enter the NFL. This dude could play Major League Baseball if he didn't care about playing football anymore. Kyler Murray can easily be this year's Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray have a lot of overlap to how the beginning of their career started out. They both got drafted by trash organizations with a long, rich history of losing. The Cardinals are even worse than the Jets. The Cardinals have the most losses in NFL history, and they've been around longer than damn near 90% of the league. The Cardinals have been around since the 1920s, and somehow they're all-time in losses. Kyler Murray led the Cardinals in his third season as a starter to their fifth playoff appearance in 25 years. Kyler Murray, like Sam Darnold, has a solid floor, mid-quarterback with a high ceiling if he's on the right team. When Sam Darnold left the Jets, left the Panthers, you didn't really come away thinking that Sam Darnold was a completely garbage quarterback. You came away thinking Sam Darnold is he's the bottom of the totem pole. He's good enough to get you by for a season if you need a bridge quarterback, but not really good enough to be a long-term starter in the league. He's not a winning quarterback. You saw how fast that narrative shifted when Sam Darnold went to Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. He had a good situation, a good team, a good play caller, and that maximized all of Sam Darnold's best attributes. That's what good coaches do. They put you in the system to get the best out of you based off your skill set. Sam Darnold was never a mid or bad quarterback due to lack of talent. The talent has always been there. The flashes have always been there. For Sam Darnold, it was always about the consistency. Could he find the right team, the right coach to help him put everything together and be a more consistent quarterback? And that's what has happened these past 2 years. He's been in Minnesota and Seattle. He's been in a good situation with good players, good coaching, and you've seen Sam Darnold become a much better player than what we thought he would ever be, even though the talent has always been there. Sam Darnold playing like how he is right now for the Seahawks, he's always had that ability. He's just never been in the right spot to allow him to play this way. Same thing can kind of be true for Kyler Murray. Now, you say Kyler Murray started off his career with Cliff Kingsbury, who is a very well-respected offensive mind. And yes, that is a fair point. But Cliff Kingsbury is a good offensive mind, not really a good head coach. You can be a good offensive mind, but a bad head coach. And Kyler Murray has success with Cliff Kingsbury. The issue of Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray was eventually defenses caught on to the offense. They took away what they were doing well, and Cliff Kingsbury couldn't adapt. And that's why he no longer is calling plays with the Washington Commanders, because his offense got stale, it got predictable, it got figured out by defensive coordinators around the league, and they had to move on. Kyler Murray, being able to have the career he's had up to this point with the Cardinals is an anomaly, since most of the Cardinals quarterbacks in the past haven't really been that good. Josh Rosen was a bust. There were plenty of other quarterbacks the Cardinals have tried to draft and develop that have been bust. Kyler Murray, essentially, you could argue, is the second or third best quarterback that the Cardinals have ever had behind Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer. And neither one of those guys the Cardinals drafted and developed. This is just not an organization that's good at drafting and developing players. Look at Hassan Reddick. When he got drafted by the Cardinals, wasn't that good, was a bust, fighting for his career. Then he goes to the Panthers, ends up having double-digit sacks, goes elsewhere, ends up having double-digit sacks with the Eagles, and his career has been better ever since leaving the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have one of the worst owners in sports. The Cardinals owner is always graded out as one of the bottom 3 owners in the NFL by his players and his peers. And you expected for Kyler Murray to be able to elevate that kind of dysfunction it wasn't just the team, it wasn't just the coaching. It starts with the guys at the top. And with the Cardinals' poor ownership, yeah, what was Kyler Murray supposed to do to be able to overcome that? Now, we can talk about the weird stipulation that Kyler Murray had in his contract about studying and watching film, the video games and all that. All that is minuscule if you're winning, if you're having success. When Kyler Murray has been healthy, he's been a 24, 10, 11 kind of guy. 24 passing touchdowns, 10, 11 interceptions. That's solid for most quarterbacks, especially when you're in a franchise as terrible as the Arizona Cardinals. So you put Kyler Murray on the Minnesota Vikings with Jay Jettis, Kevin O'Connell calling plays, a very good situation, a solid, well-ran organization. You can get the same results as what you got out of Sam Darnold. Kyler Murray is not a bad quarterback. Even if Kyler Murray were to make the mistake of signing with the New York Jets, he would be the best quarterback that the Jets have had since who? Ryan Fitzmagic? When he had that 1 year a decade ago with Todd Bowles and he looked like the answer for them at quarterback, the Jets have had as bad as a stretch of quarterback play over the past decade as it can get. It can't get no worse than Kyler. Kyler is not going to be bottom 5 ass for the New York Jets. You're not going to look at Kyler Murray in the Jets uniform and go, yeah, you stink. You're one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. We got to find a replacement for you. You may go and say we can do better than this, but it's okay if we have to bring him back for another year. Kyler Murray is just inconsistent. The talent's there. A coach just has to make him more consistent. Just like how Sam Darnold was inconsistent before he joined the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. Same situations with the Jets, poor ownership. With the Panthers, poor ownership, not good coaching, instability. Kyler Murray is going to be this year's Sam Darnold. Kyler Murray has never had a season where he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. He's always had a solid floor with a very high ceiling if he gets put in the right system with the right coach in the right situation. If there ever was a quarterback late into his career, former first overall pick to take a flyer on, it's Kyler Murray. Even the Rams. Why not possibly look at signing Kyler Murray to sit for a year behind Matthew Stafford and he be the successor to him when he ends up retiring after next season? If you're Sean McVay, you got a quarterback with the athleticism that Kyler Murray has, that can make you a dynasty. Kyler Murray, what's frustrating about him is he has all the physical traits to be one of those alien quarterbacks teams dream of drafting, like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Kyler Murray has a great arm. He's a phenomenal athlete. He could be playing baseball right now if he wanted to. So all Kyler Murray needs is either the Colts or the Vikings or even the Steelers to give him a phone call and he could turn his career around. But if he ends up chasing the money and not chasing a good situation, he'll end up on the Jets. He won't be bad, but he'll end up being just a waste of talent. And right now, I look at Kyler Murray as an all-time waste of talent. Just like how Trevor Lawrence was around the same time last year, the same conversation that we're having right now about Kyler Murray, we were having about Trevor Lawrence. In comes Leanne Cohen, and that's all she wrote now. Everybody's riding the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon. You are only one good fit, one good team, one good coach away from turning your career around. If you're a quarterback like Kyler Murray, you see, Sam Darnold has a lot of you all fooled. Sam Darnold has everybody believing that any quarterback that was a former first-round pick can be regurgitated, have their career resurrected if they're in the best situation. But that's not always true. If you put Mac Jones and Kyler Murray both on the Minnesota Vikings, the Vikings are going to be more productive with Kyler Murray starting than they are if they would start Mac Jones, since Mac Jones has limited ceiling. Mac Jones' ceiling at his best is he's just a high-level game manager for you. Kyler Murray's ceiling is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, good enough to win an MVP for you. So you bank on the upside. And we've seen more high-level quarterback play out of Kyler Murray throughout his NFL career than we have out of Mac Jones, who's had a few shades of brilliance with the 49ers. But outside of that, I don't look at Mac Jones as a Super Bowl winning quarterback like how Kyler Murray has the ability to be. This guy is a former first overall pick, so the talent's still there, the upside's still there, and he has a way better resume than Malik Willis. Remember Justin Fields? People were on the Justin Fields hype train forever. It took people until this year, seeing how bad Justin Fields was throwing the football, to finally admit, okay, Justin Fields, maybe he just doesn't have it. Maybe he just isn't it as an NFL quarterback. But we were willing to give Justin Fields all these years of patience to finally give up on him, but we're willing to throw Kyler Murray in the trash. But hey, as they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And for the Arizona Cardinals, you're throwing Kyler Murray in the trash, and he's going to turn into either Kevin O'Connell's or Shane Steichen's treasure. He's going to resurrect those franchises, and the Cardinals are going to be missing out on what could have been if they were just a better organization. Every year in the NFL, there's a team that goes from worst to first in their division. Last year, we saw it with the Chicago Bears. They went from last to first to win the NFC North. This year, the team that I'm putting my money on to go from worst to first in their division are the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans can win the AFC South by the time free agency is over. Since they're second in available cap space, they have plenty of holes and a lot of money to fill them. And they already have the future at quarterback figured out with Cam Ward. You're pairing him up with Brian Dable. He easily can become the best quarterback in the AFC South by the end of this year. You're going to be giving him a better offensive line, a better defense, more receivers to throw the football to, a more dependable ground game. There's a ton of reasons why I'm very bullish on the Tennessee Titans right now. Because first of all, I have very low expectations for the Titans coming into this offseason, and they already exceeded them within the first month or two of this offseason by hiring Robert Saleh as their head coach, which I was shocked they were able to pull off, because Robert Saleh was in such high demand. He essentially could have handpicked which head coaching opening he wanted to take. And I didn't think that he would end up taking a job that's had several GMs and several head coaches fired over the past 2-3 years. There's a lot of instability within the Tennessee Titans organization. And him coming from a franchise that already had so much instability within the front office, I didn't think that he will want to deal with that a second go around. But the owner of the Titans must have promised him, she want to be tweaking out as much. And, she'll give him some patience. She'll give him a little bit of leniency. And right now, the AFC South, look, the Texans and the Jaguars both made it to the playoffs last season. They both look like they could stamp themselves as legitimate Super Bowl contenders coming up this season, but they still have a good amount of holes on their roster. The Texans got to figure out their offensive line. They don't got a lot of salary cap space to improve that. They also have to try to figure out what's going to happen with CJ Stroud. Like, can CJ Stroud truly bounce back, or is CJ Stroud just a bum now? The Jaguars, we know Trevor Lawrence is good, but that offensive line needs work. What's going to be the plan at running back? They need a lot of help on defense, the defensive line, linebackers, secondary needs some help there. The AFC South, based on last season, looks like it's just a two-team race. But the Titans are going to be in the mix. The Titans got a lot of money and a good amount of draft capital to overhaul their team as quick as this offseason. We saw the New England Patriots do it. We saw the Chicago Bears do it. It doesn't take that long to turn a team into a playoff caliber football team, especially in a division that's as wide open as the AFC South. You watch Cam Ward's last month of his rookie season, he had like only 8 touchdowns and 2 turnovers. So he got better every single game that he played, and a good amount of the games that Cam Ward was playing in, he was going up against some of the best defenses in the league and played pretty well considering he didn't have the greatest supporting cast and the best of coaching helping him out. With Robert Saleh's expertise on the defensive side of the football, no matter how much money the Titans invest into that side of the ball, you can expect that to be an improved defense. The 49ers were down their two top players on defense, two of the best players at their respective positions, and Robert Saleh still had that defense playing at a high level. I don't have any concerns about how improved the Titans are going to look next season. This is going to be a 7-win team at worst, a 12-win team at best, and all it's going to take is for them spending that cash in free agency. And I know that the Titans are going to open up that checkbook since they've had no issue opening up that wallet in the past when they got aggressive and signed Calvin Ridley away from the Jaguars. They traded for L'Jarius Sneed, gave him a big extension. They got Tony Pollard in free agency. The Titans have no problem at being aggressive at signing marquee free agents. And with Brian Daboll being the OC, who eventually will be a head coach again, I don't see how anybody can't pick the Titans to go from worst to first and win the AFC South next year. The AFC South is not decided yet. The Texans and the Jaguars have had a head start on the Titans, but the Titans, with what they have to spend in free agency, the draft picks they're going to have, Cam Ward in year 2, Robert Saleh fixing up that defense, they can quickly become a factor in the AFC South overnight. I am so amped up right now. For the first time in over 3 years, I am back with a full first round mock draft. This is the first of many. I plan on dropping at least 10 mock drafts from this time until the first night of the NFL draft. And all these picks are based on what I would do if I was general manager. So I'm not trying to predict what your team will do. I'm just putting myself in the GM chair of every single team picking in the first round and judging these decisions based on what I would do if I was in every team's draft war room. With the first overall pick, we already know Fernando Mendoza is a Raider. I've heard a good amount of folks say that they should trade away the pick, get more draft capital, draft the quarterback next year. When you got an opportunity to draft a QB prospect as solid as Fernando Mendoza, you look at him, you're like, yeah, you look like a 10-year or longer starter in this league. You have a high floor, moderate ceiling. I won't say you're bust-proof since no quarterback is bust-proof, but you got to feel pretty good Fernando Mendoza is going to be a solid starter. I have the Jets taking David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech, with the second pick. This is the best pass rusher in this year's draft. He already has a few pass rush moves in his arsenal. I feel he's the most polished prospect out of all the edge rushers. You don't have any concerns about his size. Maybe he's a little bit top heavy or more lower body heavy than what some people would like. I think that his body is a little bit weirdly proportioned where he looks a little bit bigger in the lower body than he does his upper body. But the Jets just need guys who can come in and make an impact right away their first game. David Bailey is not one of those developmental guys. He should be able to come in and instantly be a candidate for a defensive rookie of the year. Francis Mauigoa, offensive tackle out of Miami. I have the Cardinals drafted him 3rd overall. The Cardinals need another tackle to pair alongside of Paris Johnson. Francis Mauigoa would, I won't say cement the Cardinals' offensive line, but if you got two very serviceable tackles, then your offensive line is pretty good. You can get some cheap guys to beef up the interior and free agency. Francis Mauigoa is the best offensive tackle in this class. You can't go wrong drafting a Samoan this high in the draft. I've yet to see a bad Samoan offensive tackle that's been a first-round pick. I got another Miami player coming off the board with the 4th overall pick. I got the Titans taking edge rusher Ruben Bain from Miami. For one, I can't see how Cam Ward allows the Titans not to draft Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain also is a position that the Titans desperately need, which is an edge. Now, they traded for Jermaine Johnson from the Jets. They reunite him up with Robert Saleh. They still need another edge. Ruben Bain, despite the short arms, very athletic. He's like a bullet. As soon as he gets off his first step, he's already flying past tackles. He's very powerful, and he can string along a few pass rush moves. He also was coached up by one of the greatest pass rushers in NFL history, Jason Taylor. I don't think he's as clean as what David Bailey is from a technical standpoint. There is a little bit of refinement that you got to add to his game, but I wouldn't be shocked if Ruben Bain ends up having a pretty solid rookie season. I just see David Bailey as one of those 7, 8, maybe 9 sack kind of guys in his rookie season. Ruben Bain, I think he'll have some spurts. He'll have some flashes. He'll finish with probably 5, 6 sacks at the end of his rookie season. I think the Titans got to take a pass rusher here still, and Ruben Bain will be the second pass rusher available. I have the Giants drafting Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State, 5th overall. This is a linebacker that 70% of the NFL wishes they had the opportunity being able to draft, since he can do everything. He was a safety when he first got to Ohio State. He finished as a linebacker that can not just defend against the run, but he's very good in man coverage against tight ends, running backs. Occasionally, the slot receiver will be matched up against them, and he'll do a pretty good job. I think that Sonny Styles is a Fred Warner, Luke Kuechly, Patrick Willis kind of linebacker. You draft him, you're instantly going to get one of the best linebackers in the league. You got somebody that can just completely transform your defense. He can stop the run, and he can shut down the pass. What more can you want out of a linebacker? This is the modern day linebacker in the NFL. The linebacker position is undervalued because linebackers aren't viewed as important to championship success. A guy like Sonny Styles, though, can completely change that. I have Spencer Fanu, offensive tackle out of Utah, going 6th overall to the Browns. The Browns could go a variety of different ways here. They could take a receiver. They could take an edge here. Maybe they take Arvell Reese. Maybe they take Caleb Downs. You got to get that offensive line right first. If your quarterback battle is going to come down to Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, God forbid, whoever else the Browns choose to add to the mix, the least you can do to help out Todd Monken is give him a solid offensive line. The Browns have holes at every single offensive line spot. The few bright spots they had at that position are going to be hidden free agency. If you can get Spencer Fanu 6 overall, that's a very good pickup. He can play either left or right. It doesn't really matter. You just need to shore up that offensive line no matter who you have behind center next season. I have Arvell Reese going 7th overall to the Commanders. I'm not a huge fan of Arvell Reese in the top 10, since I'm not a fan of developmental players, splash players. He's one of those guys that's very young. He's only 20-something years old, turns 21 in August. He won't be an immediate contributor for you unless you play him as an off-ball linebacker. And I believe Arvell Reese has more value as a off-ball linebacker than he does as a developmental edge. Now, if you want to use him as like a Jamie Collins hybrid, since Jamie Collins was like a hybrid of a off-ball linebacker edge rusher, then that's okay. But if there's anybody that's going to find a way to get the most out of a player like Arvell Reese versatility, it's Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn was able to get the most out of Michael Parsons when he first came into the league. He found out a way to utilize that unique versatility. So if he could help develop Michael Parsons, he can do the same thing for Arvell Reese. Some Commanders fans may argue and say you go corner here, which is fair. You could go Mansour Delane here or any of the other top corners. It wouldn't really matter, but you can address corner in free agency. There's a lot of good DBs on the market. Not really a lot of good pass rushers, so you might as well just take the swing with Arvell Reese. I have Jeremiah Love going 8th overall to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints already have Chris Olave pending the trade. Tyler Shuck looked pretty good. Alvin Kamara's not getting any younger. Jeremiah Love arguably is the best player in this draft. Any team that needs a running back could use him. Any team that needs playmakers could use a guy like this. When you got, I won't call Tyler Shuck a young quarterback, but when you got a young quarterback or a quarterback that's young to the NFL, having a good run game can help them out. And Alvin Kamara is better as a complimentary back than he is as a lead back. Jeremiah Love can take that role. You can move Alvin Kamara more to a complimentary role position, and that's normally when Alvin Kamara is at his best. And Jeremiah Love is one of those kinds of running backs that he doesn't need to have the best offensive line in the world. As long as you give him a halfway decent offensive line, which the Saints have, he's going to be really good. Since he's one of those players, all he just needs is an inch, and he can take it to the crib. Saquon Barkley 2.0 is what I see when I watch him play, just with the quick change of direction, the elite burst that he has. As soon as he gets the ball, he's upfield. He's just dynamite in the sack at running back. And this is a very weak running back class. Jeremiah Love is miles ahead of everybody else in his position, and I got him as the third best player in this draft overall. I have the Chiefs drafting Mekhi Lemon with the 9th pick of the draft. There aren't a lot of sexy options for Kansas City and free agency to address their wide receiver concern. Right now, you got Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. Getting somebody like Mekhi Lemon that can be a dominant one for you would be a huge boost to Patrick Mahomes in this offense. At 9, you just got to go best player available. Mekhi Lemon is the best receiver in this draft to me. Incredible route runner, very good after the catch, has phenomenal hands, doesn't really drop passes at all. The Chiefs just need somebody that can come in and have an impact, can come in and help elevate an offense that has kind of been struggling these past 2 years. Mekhi Lemon can be that. Mekhi Lemon can be one of those rookie wide receivers that you see go for 1,500 yards right away with the system he's going to be in. He's not a gimmicky player like how Xavier Worthy is. You got to scheme him open. No, like Mekhi Lemon is your new modern number one receiver in this league. Yeah, he's undersized. He's not Brandon Marshall or DK Metcalf, but he gets open and he makes plays. That you can't ask for more than that out of a receiver. I have the Bengals taking Caleb Downs with the 10th pick of the draft. The Bengals just got to take best player available, whoever is on the board on defense, rather it be corner, rather it be linebacker, rather it be edge. They just need all the help they can get on the defensive side of the ball. You can't go wrong with Caleb Downs. This is the second best player in this draft. Looks like Derwin James with how good he is against the run, the versatility that he brings to you in coverage. You can line him up in the box. It's like a sub, nickel, or dime linebacker. You can put him in the slot. He can kind of serve a Jalen Petrie role for you. You need this kind of player. And there are some concerns about like his knees or something like that. Caleb Downs started for Nick Saban as a true freshman, fresh out of high school at 18 years old. He's been an All-American every year that he's been in college. He's had one of the most prestigious and illustrious college careers that a defensive back can have. The Bengals can't go wrong taking Caleb Downs. I have Mansour Delane going 11th overall to the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, like the Bengals, have a lot of issues on defense. So you can't really go wrong by taking the best cornerback available. The Dolphins are starting somebody called Storm Duck at corner. Yeah, you need Mansour Delane. And they've needed corner for going on 2 years. Mansour Delane comes from DBU, LSU. There's not a better university that you can get defensive backs from than this one. Very good at man coverage, very sticky coverage skills. Just your prototypical high-level man-to-man press corner. I have Jamal McCoy going 12th overall to the Cowboys, so we're starting to see a run on defensive backs here. The Cowboys have 2 first-round picks. They got to use one of them to address their glaring hole at corner. Yeah, you still have DeRon Bland, who is coming off an off year, missed a little bit of time with injury. I think he can shake back. You cut Trayvon Diggs. You need a replacement for that. Jamal McCoy, there are concerns about the ACL injury he just suffered. He's gone a year without playing football. How long is it going to take for him to get in football shape? But when he was on the field for Tennessee back in 24, the film was very impressive. The Cowboys, it's just right now, you could go edge. Maybe you could take Caleb Banks, but there's just better value at this point in the draft at corner than there is at edge. I have Colton Hood being the 3rd straight corner drafted. I have Colton Hood going 13th overall to the Los Angeles Rams. They just traded for Trent McDuffie, but they still have to address their other cornerback spot. Colton Hood is one of my favorite players in this draft. Very good footwork, very good agility, very sticky in man coverage. He won the Jim Thorpe Award this past season. He can get a little bit handsy at times, and you could run into some issues where he's giving up a bunch of flags, holding, pass interference penalties. But hopefully with Chris Shula as the defensive coordinator, he can work out some of those kinks, because I love Colton Hood's coverage ability with just how fluid he is, with his back pedal, how he's just able to just change direction so smoothly. With the 14th overall pick, I got the Baltimore Ravens taking defensive tackle Caleb Banks out of the University of Florida. Caleb Banks has the highest upside out of all the interior defensive lineman prospects in this draft. For one, he specializes in getting after the quarterback. And defensive tackles that can rush the quarterback very well are in very high demand, since you can't really find a lot of defensive tackles that can give you 8 or more sacks rushing the quarterback every year. A guy like Caleb Banks, you pair him alongside of Matabuke, that can improve the Ravens' pass rush. Everybody keeps saying the Ravens need an edge rusher, as if that's the only position that can help improve the pass rush. What about the interior pass rush? If you have 2 very good, dominant pass rushing defensive tackles, you're already a headache for offensive coordinators to game plan for, because the middle of the defense, if you can lock that down and you can control the middle portion of the line of scrimmage, then you're going to win the majority of games. And the Ravens already have a lot of talent in the secondary. You had a guy like Caleb Banks where that pass rush potential really hasn't been unleashed yet at Florida. He missed a lot of time last season due to a foot injury. With Jesse Mentor being a head coach, you get a guy like Caleb Banks in his scheme, he could be a monster. Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, edge rusher. I have him going 15 to the Bucks. Very explosive, very athletic, very raw, but you like the tools, you like the trades. The Bucks have a habit of falling in love with these explosive defensive linemen, explosive pass rushers. We've seen in the past with the guy they recently drafted out of Pitt. They just love these explosive defensive line players, and I think Cassius Howell kind of fits the mold for what Todd Bowles is looking for. Very quick off the edge, very good bend. I have the Jets drafting Jordan Tyson, 16th overall, wide receiver out of Arizona State. If Christian Watson had a twin, I would believe it would be Jordan Tyson. I don't know how you can watch Jordan Tyson play and not see Christian Watson. I'll say he probably is a lot more agile than Christian Watson. Christian Watson doesn't really have the best change of direction. He's not as good as a route runner as what Jordan Tyson is. Jordan Tyson is just a better version of what Christian Watson is, which is insane to say, but you watch him play, he runs like Christian Watson. He kind of catches like Christian Watson. Just a lot of bounce, a lot of juice when he's coming in and out of his breaks. Just a lot more flexibility and just a lot more dynamic than what Christian Watson is. The Jets, they need another playmaker to pair alongside of Garrett Wilson. They may not have a good quarterback next year, so giving them whoever's going to be playing quarterback for them another good receiver, I think definitely has to be in the cards for the Jets. With the 17th pick, I have the Detroit Lions drafting edge rusher Akeem Mesidor out of Miami. Either you're a fan of this pick or you're a huge hater of this pick, and there's no in between. Either you don't want to take Akeem Mesidor because he's too old and you feel like you won't get a lot of value out of his rookie contract since he'll probably be nearing 30 once it's over, or you love it because the Lions need a good pass rusher alongside of Aiden Hutchinson, and Akeem Mesidor can come in and give you instant production, give you like 6-7 sacks. He's been in college football for a very long time. He's like 24 or 25 years old, so you shouldn't really have to wait that long to see the dividends on the field. You draft Akeem Mesidor, he should be able to have an instant impact on that defense. He won't give you like all pro level production like what you're getting out of Aiden Hutchinson, but he can at least give you 6-7 sacks, and I think that would be phenomenal. He also can play either edge or he can play on the interior of your defensive line. It just comes down to how the Lions feel he best fits their scheme. Very disruptive against the run as well. He would be a top 10 player in this draft if it wasn't for the concerns about the age. I have the Vikings drafting safety out of Oregon, Dylan Thiedemann, 18th overall. We all talk about how good Caleb Downs is. Dylan Thiedemann doesn't get talked about as much, and he should. You go back and you watch that game against Penn State when he user lurked Drew Aller to win the game, get the game-winning pick in overtime. That's what got Dylan Thiedemann on my radar. I was like, okay, this dude is lurking Drew Aller. I've never seen a user lurk like that from a safety. Just has a high football IQ, just always seems to be around the football. If he's not getting in on the play, he's somewhere around the proximity of the play being made. When you lose a guy like a Harrison Smith, who's been the best safety of this era, to find a good replacement for him, you're not really going to find a lot of good safeties like this in the first round. That could be just a easy, smooth transition from a guy like Harrison Smith. Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. I have him going 19th overall to the Panthers. The Panthers need to beef up that defensive line a lot more. They need to improve that pass rush. I think you start off with Peter Woods. Peter Woods, at the start of the preseason last year, he was projected to be a top 5, top 10 pick, insane athlete, kind of gives you Christian Wilkins vibes. Unfortunately, this year was very underwhelming. He wasn't as good getting after the quarterback as what you would have thought he would have been. He didn't really take that next leap that you would have hoped he would. Maybe in the NFL, playing under Ejiro Evero is what Peter Woods would need to really get that untapped potential out of him. 20th overall, I have the Dallas Cowboys taking Texas linebacker Anthony Hill Jr. Anthony Hill Jr. is not being talked about enough for how good of a linebacker he is. Very good instincts, very good tackler, solid in coverage. He's only not being talked about as much in the first round conversation due to how much of an animal Sonny Styles is. And how can you not talk about Sonny Styles? He's 6'5", runs 4.49 at 244 pounds at linebacker. Yeah, Anthony Hill Jr., not the Area 51 creation that Sonny Styles is, but pretty freaking good. And he's been one of the best players in college football for going on about 2-3 years now. And he's had first round buzz for a while. The Cowboys need a linebacker. They do love to keep those Texas players in the state of Texas. So I don't see how they don't end up drafting Anthony Hill Jr. 20th overall. Yes, he is a linebacker, the importance of linebacker, yada, yada, yada. We get that. But the Cowboys are the same team that drafted Leighton Vander Esch in the first round not too long ago. And he was very good. So you can't go wrong drafting a guy like Anthony Hill Jr. I think whoever ends up drafting him, wherever he goes, first round, late first, early second, they're going to be getting a stud. With the 21st overall pick, I have the Steelers drafting Ohio State wide receiver Cornell Tate. The Steelers obviously need another receiver to pair along DK Metcalf. Their number one receiver last year was their running back, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jonnu Smith, and the million bajillion tight ends they have on the field. Cornell Tate is going to be a breath of fresh air at wide receiver for the Steelers. Can run routes, great hands, very good separator. Just not a burner. He runs like in the 4.5s. I don't really think that matters since his game speed looks a lot faster than that. And personally, I don't need my wide receivers running 4.2s, 4.3s. Can you get open? Can you catch the ball and score touchdowns? Cornell Tate does that. He also comes from wide receiver university, who hasn't missed yet with the first round wide receiver. So you can never go wrong drafting a Samoan offensive tackle in the first round and an Ohio State wide receiver in the first round. With a 22nd overall pick, I have the Chargers drafting Penn State offensive guard. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. I'm still practicing with it. I think the last name is Ione. Please don't quote me on that. The Chargers, with their signing of Mekhi Becton in free agency last year, they need to improve one of those interior guard positions. This guy is the best guard available according to the experts. I am not an offensive line expert. It's just all the experts say this is the best interior offensive lineman in this year's draft, and that's what the Chargers need. They need to improve that offensive line some more. And just when they thought they improved the offensive line enough, improve that offensive line some more so you have good depth to overcome the injuries that they did last year, because their offensive line was the only thing holding them back from being a Super Bowl contender. After the Eagles drafting the little brother to A.J. Terrell, cornerback Avion Terrell out of Clemson. They already have Quintanamo Bay, Quinyon Mitchell. Now you need another corner. And you were throwing everybody out there at corner last year. They had Adoree Jackson, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, Adoree Jackson. Remember that name? Former first round pick? Yeah, years ago. Yeah, he was a star at USC. Very disappointing NFL career. Yeah, he was starting for them. Then they traded for Jair Alexander, thought that he was going to play. He ends up just retiring, saying, I'm good with football. Avion Terrell, for the Eagles to get him 23rd overall would be a huge steal, since some people view him as the best corner in the draft. I'm not as high on him as most. I was watching a lot of Clemson games this year, and even up a few points here and there. I think 23 is a very good spot for him, and he's going to a very good spot with the Philadelphia Eagles. I have the Browns taking Clemson pass rusher. We have another Clemson player off the board. TJ Parker, edge rusher out of Clemson. Now, he has a lot of juice, a lot of steam, but the pass rush moves, it's a work in progress. But the Browns need a pass rusher. They need a tag team partner for Myles Garrett, because Myles Garrett has been doing it all by himself. They drafted Mason Graham out of Michigan. He was a non-factor. You do got Carson Swearinger, though. I like him a lot. So I think that with the Browns at this spot, you're kind of looking for developmental players. A guy like TJ Parker can give you what you're looking for as a sidekick to Myles Garrett. I have the Chicago Bears with the 25th overall pick, taking Auburn edge rusher Keldrick Falk. Now, I don't really like the edge rusher class as most people do. I think that Keldrick Falk, though, despite the lack of production that he has at Auburn, I do think that the potential is through the roof. I do think that he's pretty solid against the run as well. And I don't think if you start him day one, like you'll get no production out of him, but I'm not expecting much. I think he's more so a good developmental player, and developmental pass rushers that have the kind of physical traits and the physical upside that he has normally end up coming off the board around this time of the draft. I have the Bills with the 26th overall selection, drafting Oklahoma edge rusher R. Mason Thomas. This is one of the most underrated players in this year's draft, and I really can't understand why. If you go back and you watch that Oklahoma defense, not only did you see a pack of headhunters on that defense, but you saw R. Mason Thomas destroying offensive linemen on a weekly basis. This dude has violence, aggressiveness, and explosion that you don't see out of pass rushers that are slated to be drafted outside the first round that often. Like, can somebody who is a drive expert, like you're really, really a drive expert, like you're watching the R22 for all these guys, please explain to me why people are so low on R. Mason Thomas. I was reading a scouting report before I hopped on this thing to record this, and they were saying they look at R. Mason Thomas as a good backup that could turn into an average starter. I was like, what am I missing? Because I just see such an explosive and disruptive, violent player. If you're Buffalo, how could you not draft this? He kind of reminds me a little bit of Gregory Rousseau, but not with the frame, not with the size. After 49ers drafting Alabama offensive tackle Caden Proctor, 27th overall. Caden Proctor, very polarizing prospect. Either you think he'll be a top 15 pick and you like the measurables, you feel the right offensive line coach can coach that up with the size and the strength that he already has. He can get better with his technique and his footwork. And you got other people that's kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of out on this guy. You know, very raw, more so a right tackle than he is a left tackle. But if you're the 49ers and you don't know what the hell you're going to do with Trent Williams, you got no choice but to drive Caden Proctor. Caden Proctor does have a lot of size, a lot of athleticism. If there was somebody that physically resembled Trent Williams, it kind of would be Caden Proctor. The athleticism is there. The strength is there. It's just the consistency and the play, it just hasn't been there. But eventually you're going to have to take an offensive lineman high in the draft, and there won't be no better time than now to move on from Trent Williams and replace him with the left tackle of the future in Caden Proctor. Even if you do bring back Trent Williams, you should still drive Caden Proctor so you can have him tutor your left tackle of the future. Now, I have the Texans with the 28th overall pick taking Utah offensive tackle Caleb Lemieux. They recently just re-signed Trent. I can't think of his name. It's Trent something. So they re-signed their right tackle, Trent something, and they still have a huge hole at their other tackle spot. So you get Caleb Lemieux, you can address your two tackle spots. Now you got to start working on guard and center. With the 29th pick, I have the Chiefs drafting the Oregon freak, Kenyon Sadiq. The Chiefs are about to lose Travis Kelce to retirement, whether it be this offseason or next season. Travis Kelce has 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door. Kenyon Sadiq, one of the freakiest tight end prospects that I've ever seen. Kind of reminds me of O.J. Howard as far as, you know, he tests well, but will that translate well on the field? Now, he'll sit behind Travis Kelce for a year, maybe not, since the state that the Chiefs are in, you kind of can't afford to be drafting players this late and not putting them on the field. Kenyon Sadiq, with the speed and size and just how much of a freak he is, the guy has physique of Hercules. It's hard not to see him come into the league and hit the ground running with what he can do after catch. We know the Chiefs love to use their tight ends on short routes, try to get them out of space. With a 30th overall selection in the 2026 NFL Draft, have the Denver Broncos drafting Georgia linebacker C.J. Allen. Very good instinctual player, very high IQ. He literally ran the defense. He called the defense. Now, his tape is a little bit over the place. There's some games you watch, you're like, yeah, I like what I see. And then there's some games where, you feel like he was leaving some plays on the field that could have been made. With the 31st overall selection, I have Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling. Monroe Freeling. It kind of looks like Monroe Freeling. Yeah, the Patriots take offensive tackle Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, 31st overall. Even if you still plan to try Will Campbell out at left tackle, you need another right tackle. And in case Will Campbell doesn't work out at left tackle, you move from the guard, you insert Monroe Freeling into that left tackle spot, and boom, there you go. I think the Patriots should do that anyway. I don't even think they should waste time trying to see if Will Campbell has that left tackle. Just move the brother to guard, draft Monroe Freeling, allow him to be your left tackle, and boom, your offensive line issue is solved. With the final pick and my first mock draft in 3 years, have the Seattle Seahawks with the 32nd overall selection drafting San Diego State corner Chris Johnson. Very good speed, had some very good production. There was a lot of chatter around him during the early middle portions of the season, but I guess as we progress throughout the season, we get to the playoffs, more people start being in touch with other prospects. But as far as small school prospects go, I definitely think that Chris Johnson has to be one of the best of them. And I could see him being a pretty good corner from his first season in the league. I like what I saw with the brief amount of film I was able to see of him. So this is my pre-free agency, full first round NFL mock draft. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section down below. What does your pre-free agency mock draft look like? And I will see you guys shortly with not just another episode of the JT Sports Podcast, but soon with another mock draft.